You know the job drains you. You know the routine isn't working. You've said it out loud more than once. Something has to change. And yet, when the actual chance to change appears, some part of you quietly finds a reason to stay exactly where you are. That's strange, isn't it? You're not choosing the thing that hurts because you enjoy it. You're choosing it because your brain already knows exactly how it hurts. Here's the reframe. Familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar uncertainty, even when the unfamiliar option is objectively better. Your brain isn't built to maximize your happiness. It's built to predict what happens next. And a painful situation you already understand is, in a strange way, more predictable than a better situation you've never experienced. Robert Sapolsky, who spent decades studying stress physiology, has described how your body works hard to maintain a stable internal state, something physiologists call homeostasis. Your nervous system isn't just monitoring your temperature or your heart rate. It's also monitoring emotional patterns, calibrating to whatever level of stress, tension, or discomfort has become normal for you. Change of any kind, even good change, disrupts that baseline. And disruption, to a system built for stability, registers as risk before it registers as opportunity. Think about how your brain builds its predictions in the first place. Every time you've stayed in a difficult situation and survived it, your brain quietly logs that outcome as evidence. This is survivable. I know how this goes. A new, better situation offers no such evidence yet. It's a blank page. And blank pages, for a brain wired around pattern recognition, are far scarier than a familiar script, even a painful one. Leon Festinger, a psychologist known for his work on cognitive consistency, found that people are strongly motivated to keep their beliefs, identities, and circumstances aligned with each other, even when that alignment costs them. If you've spent years believing you're someone who tolerates a hard job, a difficult relationship, or a demanding routine, leaving that situation doesn't just change your circumstances. It challenges the story you've been telling yourself about who you are. And challenging your own identity, even in service of something better, creates a specific kind of discomfort that your brain often works to avoid. There's also a simpler force at work, one behavioral economists call the sunk cost effect. The years you've already spent in a job, a relationship, or a routine don't just represent the past. They start to feel like an investment that leaving would waste. Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky's broader work on loss aversion applies here too. Walking away from years already spent can feel like a bigger loss than the ongoing cost of staying ever does. So the calculation your brain runs isn't really about future happiness. It's about protecting the value of time you can't get back, even though that time is already spent either way. This shows up in strange, quiet ways. You scroll job listings for a role that would actually suit you, and then you close the tab. You imagine ending a relationship that's been hurting you, and then you find yourself listing all the reasons it's actually fine. You picture a calmer, simpler version of your schedule, and then you fill it right back up. None of this is about lacking willpower. It's about a nervous system quietly steering you back toward the version of pain it already has a map for. Modern life adds another layer to this. Every platform you scroll shows you other people's transformations, packaged neatly, already complete. New job, new city, new relationship. What you rarely see is the messy, uncertain middle part, the weeks or months where the old identity is gone and the new one hasn't solidified yet. Because you don't see that middle stretch modeled anywhere, your brain has almost no reference for what surviving it looks like. So it defaults to the pain it can already picture in detail, rather than the uncertain relief it can't picture at all. Here's the counterintuitive part. The discomfort you feel when imagining change is rarely a sign that the change is wrong for you. It's usually a sign that your brain simply lacks a completed model for it yet. Albert Bandura, a psychologist who studied what he called self-efficacy, found that people's belief in their own ability to handle a new situation is built almost entirely through direct or observed experience. If you've never navigated the early unstable phase of a big change, your brain has no proof that you can. And without proof, it defaults to doubt. Not because doubt is accurate, but because doubt feels safer than an unverified guess. This connects to something Martin Seligman identified while studying what he called learned helplessness. In his research, individuals who repeatedly experienced situations they couldn't control eventually stopped trying to change their circumstances, even once change became possible. The behavior wasn't laziness, it was a learned prediction, formed from real past experience, that effort wouldn't lead anywhere different. If your history includes stretches where trying to change things didn't work, your brain may still be running that old prediction quietly in the background, long after your circumstances have shifted enough to make a different outcome possible. Think about the specific moment change starts to feel real. Maybe it's staring at a resignation letter you haven't sent. Maybe it's a message to a friend you've been meaning to distance yourself from. Maybe it's simply an empty evening you don't know how to fill because your old routine used to fill it for you. In that exact moment, a strange kind of grief can appear, even for a life you didn't like. That grief isn't confusing once you understand it. You're not mourning the bad situation. You're mourning the certainty it gave you, the fact that, whatever else was wrong, you always knew exactly what came next. This is not a character flaw, and it doesn't mean you're incapable of change. For many people, staying in familiar pain is simply the nervous system doing its oldest job, protecting you from the unknown, using the only tools it has. Those tools were built for a much older kind of danger, one where unpredictability really could get you killed. In modern life, an unfamiliar job or an unfamiliar relationship rarely carries that same risk, but the old alarm doesn't know the difference. It just knows that unfamiliar means unverified, and unverified gets treated like unsafe. None of this means you need to force a dramatic leap before you feel ready. Large, sudden changes often fail, precisely because they skip the step your brain actually needs, evidence that the new path is survivable. What tends to work better is smaller, repeatable proof. A single conversation that goes better than expected. One version of the new routine tried for a week instead of forever. A boundary set once, successfully, before you set it as a permanent rule. Each of these gives your brain the one thing it's been missing, direct evidence that this unfamiliar thing can be handled, which slowly turns the blank page into a page with something written on it. Charles Duhigg, who has written extensively about how habits form, describes behavior as running on a loop. A cue triggers a routine, and the routine delivers a reward, however small. Familiar pain often runs on exactly this loop. The cue might be a certain mood, a time of day, or a specific person. The routine is returning to the old pattern, and the reward, oddly enough, is relief from uncertainty, not relief from the pain itself. Once you can name the specific cue that pulls you back, you gain something useful. A moment where you can insert a different response before the old routine takes over automatically. So the next time you find yourself circling back to a situation you know is hurting you, notice what's actually happening underneath it. It's rarely that you prefer the pain. It's that the pain has become the one part of your life your brain has already mapped. And the next time that pull shows up, the goal isn't to override it all at once. It's to hand your brain one small piece of new evidence, proof, however modest, that the unfamiliar path can be walked too.